Yeah, coming to you today with another video. I'm gonna try to make this quick as possible because I was in the middle of watching a YouTube channel, but it just came to mind and I don't want to lose my thought. Um, Basically, I came up to the conclusions really in like in some details that these women who try to pawn off their kids to men who are childless or men who they would never have kids with in the first place. They try to make you the stepfather and the mentor of their kids from another man, but they never tell you about the man's family history and medical history and what this man was like. So in turn, you're picking up another man's failure, because 9 times out of 10 the female is not going to tell you the characteristics that this man had that she had a kid with. Whether he was motivated, what was his health like, did he have any kind of like peak moments. They didn't take that into account before they had a kid with this guy. And usually these women who have kids with guys who just run out on them, these guys, the only genetic lottery they hit is looks, and that's about it. But overall, half of these kids, and you see it all the time, they street people. They're street kids. You see the generation that we in right now, and you see kids out here losing their lives and them doing idiotic stuff, listening to stupid music. It's just like the last generation. But this generation is worse because they're using drugs and alcohol, and they're dying at a large rate, and they're weaker than the last generation, because you can hurt someone's feeling and they will try or successfully take their life. They will follow any trends that they see, even if it hurts them. They will literally take their own lives because of a challenge. They will do a challenge if the challenge is gonna probably hurt them or either incapacitate them or paralyze them. That tells me automatically that the parents were both genetically unintelligent. You have two unintelligent people. See, when we break it down, two prominent people having a kid is better than a prominent person having a kid with a less prominent person. If you say a rich woman has a healthy bloodline, and rich woman having a kids with she got a healthy bloodline, and everybody in her family had green eyes, and they were all physically fit and intelligent. But she goes out and have kids with a lower class person, and now the kid doesn't have the green eyes. He's not smart, and he's not physically fit. So 9 times out of 10, the family is not going to try to accept that kid as their family or their bloodline, because the woman made a mistake in having kids with the person below them, and she didn't try to have kids with a man above her or at the same level. So when these women have kids with these guys, and you see the DNA, no matter how much you put in these kids, they're going to have certain traits that come from the father that a lot of people don't know about. from health issues, mental health issues, physical issues. Pretty much they're gonna have all these traits that you don't know about, and it's gonna be a big surprise. So say that you are a disciplined man, and you put all these rules there, and you meet a woman. Say that you're a disciplined man, and all your whole life that you just been disciplined, you've been organized, and you have learned a few set skills, but you want to pass on your skills to a person who reminds you of yourself and who as disciplined yourself. But say that you believe in the rhetoric of taking other man's kids, being a stepfather, but the kid that you're raising that's not yours has a lot of health issues, and you trying your best to teach this kid the things that you sharpened over your years on earth, but it's not working because they can't process it right. You can't teach somebody who don't have the capabilities to be taught in the way you learned it. Even if you alternate the ways that you try it, you still can't teach that kid because that kid doesn't have your they don't have your DNA. See, when you teach your own kids something, they'll learn it more because they are a smaller version of you, and they are the best version of you out there. Especially, and I said the spiritual aspects, if you want to have kids with someone and you spiritually connect with that person, then your kid is going to be 10 times a better version than both of y'all. But if you have kids by a accidental mistake or a surprise mistake, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna affect the child, because some people don't raise their kids the way they should raise their kids. They just had them because it was a situation and they both had to deal with being parents. But if you're ready for a kid and you're raising a kid right, that means that everything that you learned, you're gonna take it the step by step and make sure your kid is gonna be a better version of you. But you can't really put 100% into a kid that's not yours, because you don't know how they're gonna react to the things that you trying to teach them. And you're gonna exalt yourself with this person. You're gonna exalt yourself with this kid that's not yours, and you're gonna end up failing, because if they do so the opposite or come with traits that their father has and do exactly what their dad did, if their dad was not really intelligent or any type of, and I believe in genes, DNA, genes, the genes you get from your parents can dictate who you're gonna become when you're older. Because you see people who become addicted to drugs because their parents was addicted to drugs, or their father was an alcoholic, but then later on in life they see themselves become an alcoholic too. Or you see them, their dad was physically weak and he only had a few little things, and the son turned out to be physically weak. See, it's the way you date and you choose the date. But also it is about picking a man and a woman who is at their peak. It's not picking a person who you find super attractive and who you gushing over, because when you have a kid, the kid might not absorb all the things that you learned in life. I'm a firm believer that when you have a kid, that kid absorbs everything that you are at this period, at the moment you're conceiving that kid. So if you were, say, a fit man and you have a kid, your kid is going to come out super healthy, and your kid is going to come out a little bit better than the other kids because it's going to have a head start from the parent. If one of the parents is fit and the other parent is intelligent, then the kid is going to come out with some savvy mind and a heart and body, because the sample from their mom and their dad gave them the genetics to put together a better human being. But if you are the stepfather of a person who all they have is one or two traits that attracts people, but they're not intelligent, then you're gonna have a lot of these guys that we have out here nowadays. They're reckless. They don't have critical thinking. They're one trick ponies. All they do is all they know how to do is talk to women, but they don't know how to conduct themselves and work with men. They don't know how to work with other people or work with other men without trying to throw them under the bus. I mean, I seen guys, and I could say this, but I'm not gonna put their names out there. I call them. I had 2 opportunists or 3 opportunists. All of them are brothers. We used to hang out. We grew up together. Their mom was a cheater. She cheated on her dad, but the dad also cheated on the mom. But they also had sex in front of the kids because, when I had conversations with the opportunists, he used to tell me about how they woke up and their parents was having sex in front of them. So in turn, it was like, okay, it was really, 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 weird and awkward when we was little, around like 14, 13, 14. Then, as they grew older, and the opportunist, he had a mental issue. He had a mental disorder because his dad was a drunk. His dad was a drunk, and he was a drunk and a simp. And his mom was not even remotely attractive, and she was on drugs. So all the kids came out with a particular problem. Now, this opportunist, he had bipolar. He had a couple other things. When I first met him, it was we played, I think, football, or we raced each other. When we met him, he was scared of everything. He thought Jason and Freddy Krueger was real. He thought aliens exist, and every time someone would count down the clock, he would run in the house because he thought aliens was coming. His mental condition was so bad, it took us at least about 6 or 7 years for him to even be normal. And it was us hanging out with him and socializing him and teaching him how to actually conduct themselves as a normal human being, which in hindsight it really didn't work, because he did it worked, and it failed also because he grew up to be just like his father. His father's a simp, and now 2 of his sons are simps, and his last son is pretty much just like him, and their daughter is just like the mom. So now you getting what I'm saying? When you have 2 parents who had kids and they didn't think about the consequences of their actions during the time when they had the child, and they didn't try to recover that. They didn't try to make sure that kid would never absorb the traits that they have at the time. Their kids come out wrong and distorted and just like them, because they never changed. So when women have kids with these thugs and bad boys and everything else, them traits already are now absorbed inside of that kid. It doesn't come out when it comes out little bit by little bit until they grew up, but it takes an environment that triggered those traits into that kid. And that kid might not get better because all it takes is a few things to trigger that kid into going what naturally comes to them. So if these women had kids with a thug, it don't matter if she married a good dude. This kid is still going to be the thug, the child of a thug. So he's gonna get into other things that make him feel comfortable. He's not gonna be comfortable learning new things. He's not gonna be comfortable learning a new language. He's not gonna be comfortable with order. He's gonna be comfortable with chaos and bad crap and shit that you're not supposed to do, because his dad was that type of person. And the thing that he got from his dad was probably looks and probably some other things. But the fact is, his dad is a failure because he walked out on his child. So now you got that cycle. No matter how good you are as a stepfather, that kid is going to end up like their father. And there's nothing you can do about it because the traits were already inside the kid from the beginning. You need someone with a naturally good trait or at their peak trait in order to have great kids. And you have to teach them each step of their life what they're going through, because guess what? They're like you. So the dark side of being a stepfather is basically meaning that you're raising somebody else's DNA and you don't know how that kid, you don't know the story behind that kid's father. You don't know who that man is and who his family is. So now you're raising and giving all your knowledge that might not ever be processed to somebody else that's not your kid. And not only that, this kid is going to grow up and might not only leave you and tell you that you're not my father, but also the mom will also use that to her advantage to move on. Because there is a lot of stories out here about stepdads getting, hurt and even worse by their stepkids. It's a story about a white kid who expired his stepfather and put it on Snapchat. There's stories about guys who raised stepkids, and the stepdad got injured or hurt, and the stepkids didn't even visit him. They didn't even care that this man put all his work into you to make you good, to make you better, to be another version of him, even though you don't share his DNA, and you didn't appreciate it because guess what? That wasn't his kid. They're not this man's child. So they don't have no really spiritual and genetic connection. Oh yeah, I have a stepfather and I see him as my real father. But then you ask these people that when they said is, if your stepfather asks you for a large amount of money, would you give it to him? Or would you give a kidney to the stepfather? Oh, my bad. You can't because you're not genetically matched. Would you drop everything for your stepfather? Would you, even though your stepfather and your mom's not together, would you side with your stepfather on things? And most of the time they won't. Most of the time they would never tell you these things. To guys out here who are told that they need to be, to be a real man, you have to raise other man's kids. No, you don't, because you don't know how this woman raised her kids. See, a lot of women, they don't come with the discipline package that men do come with. So this woman is going to tell you what to do and what not to do to her own kids. You might as well have your own kids where you can have free reign to do and discipline your own kids. Because 9 times out of 10, if you are a stepdad in that role, then you're going to have to technically share the spotlight with another man. And guess what? Another man is gonna beat you in teaching that kid whatever they want to pass on. And if it's negative energy, and if it's nothing but just failure, and if it's failure and it's not, it's just all types of I'm looking for that word, dysfunction, then we're going to have the same cycle we have before. And then it's going to be worse when the kid grows up, because guess what? If your kid has your DNA, that the traits that you have, that's the best traits of you, is going to come out in that kid, and they're going to be able to fight the world. But if you have a kid who's weak-minded, from a weak-minded man who all they did was have fun and go to clubs and do all that, but they didn't learn any type of real skill and trades and none of that stuff, and they didn't take care of their bodies, and they didn't get checkups, and they didn't see the severity of their health, then you're gonna have a kid with a damaged mind, a damaged body, and a damaged spirit. And you can't raise that because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna fight a uphill battle. Being a stepfather it takes so much from the man who don't have any kids. 9 times out of 10 is like you're being used to make yourself. You're being used to give an opportunity to pass on things that this person that's not connected to you and will never really do the things that you might do. Let's say it like this, because I'm getting, I don't want to make this video too long. Say Bruce Lee had kids, right? And he had students, but he didn't have a lot of students. I think he had about three students or something like that. I think three instructors or whatever. He had a small group of people who taught his martial arts to people, because if he taught the martial arts to the wrong group of people, they will go use it for good, for evil, and then they'll use it for wrong. So what I'm getting at is that basically you can give somebody else's kid all the knowledge, you can raise that kid all you want, but at the end of the day, the kid is not yours. And the kid, you don't know what the child, when they grow up, what they're going to do with the information you gave them, because they don't have your traits, and they're not going to be who you want them to be, because they are not your kids. They're unpredictable. It's like you're giving $1 million to a complete stranger and telling them, I hope they do good with the million. I hope they do what they need to do with that $1 million. And then they come back a year later and they're broke. And you said, what's going on? I gave you $1 million. Well, I'll spend it all. That's the kind of experience that you're going to get with raising somebody else's kid. See, if you have your own kid, you're going to be more likely to keep trying and build your own kid up, because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna know how your kid feel at what age they are, because guess what? They're gonna have certain traits that you had when you were their age, and the things that you used to do, and the things that your wife or your girlfriend used to do. You can always, being a genetic father to a child, you have a big dictionary and you have a big wiki. You get to go look at the things that you did wrong and fix it with your child. But if you have a kid, if you had a kid that's not yours, the kid comes with no wiki. It doesn't come with no manual. You don't know who this kid is behind that DNA. You don't know what this kid is going to do, and you don't know how the mom raised the kid, and you don't know how the mom gave leeway to him. Some moms out there, some people out there who raise their kids, they let their kids do anything they want, and they don't be tough on them. So if you're a strict dude, you're gonna have a handful. And a lot of people in these relationships, these guys who single and they don't have any kids, they even can tell you that dating someone with kids is a hard thing, because some of these moms do not raise their kids right to have respect, and you see traits of their father in their kids. If the kid, like I said before, it's not gonna be successful. The success rate of raising a step kid is real low. It doesn't turn out like how everybody tries to make it seem. But the small rate, they try to use it like it's the main story, and it's not, because there's a lot of men out here who walk out of the situations because they can't do anything with the kid. They can't teach the kid not to do that. Say you come into a situation where the kid exuberates, start acting in a feminine way, and this is a kid. You don't know that the stepfather was bisexual, or you don't know that the father had some feminine traits. So your kid's gonna come out speaking in a certain way that you're not gonna find. Like, well, why is he speaking like this? I try to raise him to be a man, but why is he speaking like this? What's up with him? He might not have a deep voice. He might not have the muscle. He might not be able to develop muscle quickly like you want him to do. He might not be smart enough to catch on to certain things. And you're going to look at this kid and say, whoa. I can't do this anymore. This kid is listening to Beyonce and all this pop music and all this other stuff. I can't raise a kid like this. And you're looking at yourself and say, why did I didn't have my own kid next to this? And what's I'm about to cut it off. What's the biggest thing about this whole situation when women try to pass their kids off to men who have no kids? They don't do the dad. They don't do the guy a favor by having his kid. So he can have his kid and raise his kid next to his kid to have some kind of civil rivalry. Because the fact is, sometimes having two kids together and having one kid that's genetically yours and the other one's not, you're gonna have them rivalry to each other, and they're gonna see that the kid is a reflection of you, and they're gonna want to try to be better than your kid because you're not their kid. So in turn, it will be better for you to have a kid with this woman if you did like her and you did take her seriously, because it even things out. While you teaching your kid things, the kid can be right at the side where you can say, okay, that's the brother, that's the sister of my kid now, my half sister, half brother of my kid now. That is more important. The step kid becomes more important now. But the step kid's gonna see you and your biological kid as a like, oh, I have competition and I gotta be better than this. I gotta be better at this than his kid. So it's gonna be a little civil rivalry. But I'm going too many into the details. But it seems like they pretty much don't really want to improvise. They don't want to work along with that, because you got women out here who have like 5 kids, and they try to pass on 5 kids to they try to pass on 5 kids to a childless man, and no man is gonna try to accept that. Because the guy I talked to, I mean the guy that I talked to previously about the opportunist, the guy that I used to be, I'm gonna say at one time we was friends, former friends, but I call people who former friends opportunists because they hanged around you at the right time, and then they joined somebody else or whatever. He took care of a female who had 6 kids, and they end up breaking his game system. He was always broke, and me and him was still speaking at the time. He's like, I don't understand their kid. I don't understand her kids. I don't know why they don't listen to me. And he's like, their mom telling them to not do this, and they don't do it. And I told him straight away. I said, yeah. I said, they're not your kids. So they're not programmed mentally to see you as an authority figure. You're not their kids. She had multiple kids with different dudes. So their genetic authority thing that goes in where, kids listen to an adult, it's not going to listen to it because they all got different traits. And they're not going to listen to a strange man who their mom brought into the house. That's not going to work. And him being a simp, he actually went into another situation where he dated a female who had 2 kids, and the kids didn't like him. One of the kids lied on him and said he touched her, and he continued to stay in that situation even though the kids didn't like him. And he stayed on the couch for 2 years, and he continued to try to buy his way into having these kids love him. But he didn't understand that these kids were not his kids. See, it depending, and this is one thing I'm gonna cut this do this and finish this. If a woman has a kid, right, it depends on what age, where learning is a key thing. The traits and stuff, you can, if you really work really hard, if you try, you can be part of the success rate. But the kid must be at least a newborn or between the ages of 1 or 4, where they're starting to talk. Because if you come to a kid's life at a later age, like when they develop a personality or whatever, they already have these traits, and they don't see you as their real father. Because guess what? Who are you? You're not my real father. You're even when they're little, like around 5 or 6, even no, even 5 to 10. They will not view you as an authority figure in their life. They view you as somebody who's there with their mom. And you have to appease this kid, because this kid can actually say and lie on you if you say the wrong things, do the wrong things, you're gonna end up in jail. Because guess what? This kid is not yours. So you going into a situation with a title that says step. You're not going to this situation as a father. You see what I'm saying? You're going into this situation as a stepfather. So anything you do, you want to have to keep a piece in this child. And once this child develops a personality and start growing up into what their father used to be, or what their father has, the traits their father has, they're going to start getting clever with your position. And they're gonna say they're gonna lie, they're gonna do stuff to you, they're gonna say stuff like they don't like you, or they're gonna take it a step further and do something to you and jeopardize who you are. And 9 times out of 10, most women will take the side of their kid instead of the side of the man. So if a kid lies and say, well, this man did this to me, and they're mad at you, 9 times out of 10, if the woman is, is she respectable and whatever, she's going to take the kid's side. And then the kid can lie and say you did whatever, and then you're going to be in jail, or you're going to be on the news. So it's being the dark side of being a stepfather. It's too many cons. It's not a lot of pros in this. It's a lot of cons that goes in this shit. And that's the reason why a lot of men say, we're not gonna take no other man's kid, no other man's kids. We're not gonna be no stepfather to nobody, because you can lose everything you work for your whole life over somebody else's kid who has the traits of the father. And the women do not take account of that. At the time of this guy, at the time when they had kids with this guy really wasn't at his peak. He wasn't so smart. He wasn't anything. All he was he was just a shallow shell, but he hadn't anything in him. And then the kid's gonna come out just like that. And you see it out here all the time. With the conditioning and with the everything, this is why a lot of the new age kids in this new generation is easily influenced, because they don't understand their own DNA. They don't understand where they come from. And they don't know why they do the things they do, because their mom didn't think about the consequences of having kids with a man who isn't really at their peak, or having kids with a man who just good in bed, and he can talk a good game but he's not intelligent, or he doesn't have any good physical qualities in himself. But that basically they didn't take that account, and you see these kids out here, they're mentally weak, they're easily influenced. Most of their bodies, a lot of these kids out here from 18 to 20, they're kids. Their bodies are messing up all the time, and they don't know why. Because their dads and their mom had them when both of them was wore out. You don't. To me, your kids are who you are, and what they have, and the traits they have, and the physical qualities have when you conceive them. So if you were a female who were high on drugs, and you didn't take care of your body, you didn't get checkups, and your immune system was weak, and the man, all he was, a gym guy, but he was on drugs, and he made dumb decisions and all this other stuff, your kid's likely gonna come out really messed up. There's not a lot of high level athletes out there. You know, a lot, and also, you know, you got a lot of women out here who try to take advantage of their kids, because that's why they try to have kids with athletes, thinking that, you know, if a guy's an athlete, the kid's gonna come out athlete. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes it's not. But it also depends on the mom and how good and a fit she is for those physical qualities to get better in the child when the child is in the stomach. And if the mom don't take care of herself, the kid is gonna come out, you know, physically, you know, gifted in some ways, but he's not gonna be extraordinary. And and a lot of people don't get that. But yeah, that's the dark side of being a stepfather, man. You can't. It's a lot of it's a lot of cons, and a little bit of pros of being somebody's stepdad.